And we're back with my good friend Raul Pupo, who is an author, a businessman, an entrepreneur, and he's done so much it just gets me tired reading all about it. But one of his latest ventures is this book, America's Service Meltdown, Restoring Service Excellence in the Age of the Customer. So thanks for being with me, Raul.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
So why did you decide to write this book?
Barry, I've been in the service business well over 30 years. Technology services, more specifically, and I've never seen service to the customer in a worse state of disrepair. And no industry that I'm aware of is immune from this affliction. So while I was writing the manuscript, it occurred to me that although there's plenty that is written about service, most of it happens to be written in this one-size-fits-all how-to manual style. And so I thought that was misguided. And what we have here is a book based on first principles. Principles, that is to say, foundational propositions, which, when understood, can be implemented given the particular enterprise situation at hand.
So who's the intended audience for your book?
Well, I believe everyone in the organization, everyone at all levels and at all functions, for the simple reason that I believe it's everyone's business to serve the customer, you know. But particularly those executives that are in a position to influence the service direction of the company will find the discussion, I believe, a clarion call to action. Executives in charge of call centers, service delivery, sales, marketing, all of these individuals, I think, can benefit from this discussion, Barry.
What is the central premise of America's Service Meltdown?
The central premise of America's Service Meltdown is you can run your organization more effectively, that is to say, more profitably, by adhering to these four critical success factors. Let me run through them briefly. The first is a customer-focused leadership group, not a something else group, not politically adroit, not smart, not charismatic, not necessarily. All of those attributes come into play, but a leadership group that understands that they get up in the morning to serve the needs of the customer. The second factor is a business-centric planning regimen. Most organizations that I am aware of put the customer at the tail end of that process. What we argue here is that the customer needs to be brought in very early in the planning process if one is to avoid the next Chevy Volt disaster. The third factor is the service ethic, the most elusive perhaps of the four factors. The service ethic has to do with how the organization and the individual behaves toward the customer. The service ethic is made up of three elements. A mission statement that is unequivocal in making it clear and explicit that that organization believes that they're in business to serve the needs of the customer. Secondly, all policies and all practices throughout the organization have got to be consistent with the mission. You can't have a lofty mission statement and then find that the fine print essentially torpedoes or nullifies the mission statement. And the fourth is what I call power to the front line. Power to the front line is perhaps the most complex, and it is a collaborative success factor. It means that the individual who comes to the workplace must bring skills, soft as well as hard skills, to deal with customers, and then that individual must then be empowered by the leadership group and supported with systems and with information. The front line is the tip of the spear in the organization, and that group must be indeed the most powerful group that we find in the organization.
Why do you think service fails to rank higher on the list of corporate priorities?
Well, I think business executives are unidimensional when it comes to their judging the well-being of their business. And that one dimension happens to be short-term financial results. And so if you look at executive compensation programs, it is no wonder that executives behave the way they do. They know which side their bread is buttered. And so they're not entirely irrational for behaving the way they do. But look at the results. Professor Roger Martin at the University of Toronto has done a study, public companies, where he's taken the CEO pay and compared it to net earnings on a dollar-for-dollar basis. In the decade of the 80s, Professor Martin found that CEO pay grew twice as fast as earnings. It gets worse. In the decade of the 90s, CEO pay grew 4 times as fast as net earnings. Against that backdrop, it is no wonder, Barry, that service to the customer ranks, dead last in the executive suite.
What are the potential consequences for the organization that fails to focus on the customer?
In the 21st century, particularly now with the velocity of change in the marketplace, the number of chess pieces that we have to play with are few and far between. The chessboard has indeed shrunk. We're left with what I believe is one major piece to play. It's a potent piece, but it's one, and that piece is called service. And the organization that fails to abide the importance and the power, actually, of the service chess piece is squandering a significant opportunity.
Is there a way that the organization can quantify the cost of poor service?
Every organization that I have worked with finds, inadvertently or otherwise, has made an investment in poor service. In some cases, very substantial investments in poor service. What we do in our advisory practice is we administer a diagnostic, which is an eye-opener for most companies. When we go through the diagnostic, it is perhaps the first time that executives can see in the tangible dollars and cents what they have left on the table when it comes to ensuring that their business is indeed profitable, as I say, over the long term. And so in the end, to answer your question, I think companies are risking just vanishing from the scene as a result of not adhering to this important issue.
Well, I agree with you completely, because I have found that companies that empower their employees to own the issue, to own the problem, to solve the problem, are the ones that are succeeding and making more money. And the ones that are ignoring that edict that you've been preaching and teaching and reading and writing about are the ones that are doing much better. So why don't you reach out and tell our viewers how they can reach you with your email, phone number, website, etc., so how they can get in touch with you.
Raul Pupo at servicemeltdown.com.
Appreciate you being with me.
Thank you, Barry.
And we'll be right back.